Okay, right, brilliant. Okay, a very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, to everyone for who has joined us today. Thank you so much for taking time off all of your busy schedules. I know how difficult it can be to get some time during the first week of January. From everyone at SCT, I would like to all of you a happy, safe, and successful 2021, going on from quite a hectic year in 2020. So my name is I'm the product manager for McAfee, and I represent Azuref Technologies. Azuref is a subsidiary of South Asian Technologies, which, as you all know, is the lead IT solutions value-added distributor for Sri Lanka and Maldives. So today we have a wonderful webinar from our expert from McAfee, titled Mitigating Cloud Threats and Risks with MVISION. So this is part of our ongoing webinar series, which we have concluded a few, and we will have few subsequent webinars as well. So each and everyone who has joined us today, look forward to seeing you for our subsequent webinars. So before we begin, some food for thought on cloud security. So with the challenges that businesses and individuals are facing, now more than ever, we are seeing an environment where most of our traditional on-premise solutions and methods of technology are gradually transitioning onto the cloud and a cloud-based system architecture. For the requirement of flexibility, you see situations where your on-premise email solutions would be shifting onto products like O365. You could also see situations where your on-premise data centers are now shifting towards more cloud. This also means that your enterprise perimeter is no longer at a physical office location. Rather, consequentially, this environment should cover your visibility, control, and should be made up in such an environment where all of your applications could be running on one platform. So with this cloud architecture transformation, we are seeing situations where users, devices, and the data that they create from these different locations are stored virtually everywhere through the cloud. So while the world around us continues to evolve into a more digital workspace, it is actually time for us to evaluate the security of our information on the cloud. So while cloud service providers such as Google, Amazon, and are enabling organizations to transition onto more cloud-centric architecture, it is time we ask the question, how secure is your information on the cloud? For example, how secure would be the information you are storing onto the cloud, or how secure are your now cloud-based data centers? How secure is the information you're storing there? A quick glance at the cloud responsibility matrix will reveal that the absolute responsibility of securing your information in the cloud more often than not resides with you and you alone. So in order to give us an in-depth insight into how McAfee services your security service requirements, we have an extremely distinguished panelist with us here today, Mr. Mahindra Kumar Singh. A very warm welcome to you, sir. Mr. Mahindra Kumar Singh is the cloud security specialist for India and SAARC at McAfee India, and comes with extensive experience in pre-sales. Mahindra's expertise lies in designing solution architecture, covering key elements such as cloud security, managed security services, and threat analysis products. In his current role at McAfee India, Mr. Mahindra specializes in cloud security assessment, enablement, and sales for large and strategic customers in India and the SAARC region. So with over more than 33 years of experience leading the security software market, McAfee is now a pioneer in converged device-to-cloud cybersecurity solutions. Unified Cloud Edge is McAfee's MVISION portfolio, is the first solution that fully integrates and converges the three key security technologies listed in Gartner's SaaS framework into one solution. This creates a secure environment for the adoption of cloud services and enablement of access to the cloud from any device for ultimate workforce productivity. So in order for us to have this extremely insightful session, I would now like to invite Mr. Mahindra Kumar Singh to carry out the presentation. Before we begin, ladies and gentlemen, please remember this is an interactive session. If you have any questions, you can utilize the Q&A tab that will be displayed to you. We will take up your questions following Mr. Mahindra's presentation.
Thanks, Anchit. Thanks for the introduction. So let me go ahead and quickly share my screen. And let's go ahead. Let me share my screen. Let me know if you can see the screen. Can you see the screen?
Yeah, Mahin, you can go ahead.
Thanks. Great. Going ahead with the topic, so as Sanchit mentioned, the shared, responsibility model. Now, understanding where the responsibility lies when it comes to data protection. It's always us as the customer who is responsible for the data, whether it is there in the enterprise environment or whether it is going into the cloud. No matter where the data is, it's always our responsibility to protect or have all the controls so that we are always in control of the data and prevent any kind of data exploitations from happening. So with that, what I would do is, talk about a little bit, what has happened in year 2020 and how it has also, aided or accelerated the transformation or movement of data or adoption of cloud, right? So if you see, in 2020 we had this COVID situation, it's this pandemic, because of which right. Similarly, if you're not able to go to office, the majority of the work happening from outside of the corporate environment, which means the data would also be going out or being accessed from out the corporate environment, right? So it has added a lot of security concerns for organizations. How do we secure data if it is accessed from outside the corporate boundaries, because it's in the cloud now, right? So remote working from home has actually accelerated that phenomenon. And some of the statistics which if I put across, are like this is one of the some of the statistics we have taken from one of the reports which we published last year on cloud adoption and risk report, work from home edition. This is available on McAfee portal as well. If you're interested, you can always have a look at that. Some statistics, like manufacturing has adopted or moved a lot of applications, a lot of their work into the cloud. Education by real estate, government, and financial services as well, right? With regards to collaboration, because we are all working from home, and it's going to continue. It's not going to stop. What we have seen is there has been an increase, for example, Cisco WebEx, an increase of 600% usage from of Cisco WebEx, which is a collaboration app. Similarly, Microsoft Teams, Zoom, Slack, those applications. Now, with that adoption increasing, the threats also increases because the attack surface has increased for the data which is now residing in the cloud. So if we look at some of the vertical wise threat, manufacturing, transportation, and logistics, education, those are the sectors who have more exposure to these kind of threats because using or adopting cloud a lot, followed by financial services as well, because now I see in the in the cloud in 2020 21, in fact, even the financial services have started adopting cloud. Earlier they used to be entirely on-prem, but because of the changing situation, they are also adopting, obviously, with all the security controls, security measures in place. They have also started adopting applications. One of the common examples which I see is Office 360 kind of application adoption is pretty high. financial organizations as well, and other organizations. Similarly, infrastructure as a service, where I see like AWS and Azure adoption a lot, right? It would vary from organization to organization, but primarily I see these AWS or GCP adoption a lot, whether it is hosting virtual infrastructure in the cloud, hosting applications in the cloud, or just having workstations and users accessing those workstations from home. All of that is coming into play. GCP is also picking up, which I see that some of the organizations are also adopting Google Cloud Platform, right? So if I put the data at the core and ask a question like, where does the sensitive data reside in the cloud? Again, there's these statistics we have taken from our customer base after a survey, and what we find that majority of the data, which is like 66% of the data, resides in known applications, known SaaS applications, like Office 365 or G Suite, or Box or Dropbox, Slack, Teams. These are all collaboration type of applications. Similarly, the data is also in business applications like ServiceNow, Workday, Salesforce, so on and so forth. Apart from SaaS, even the infrastructure as service or PaaS, the data is getting stored there. 24%, I would say, in the form of applications which are getting hosted there, or data lake solutions, which are primarily using S3 buckets or Azure Blob to store the data from the applications, right? And this infrastructure as service is one area which we see is growing even faster than SaaS application adoption, right? And with that, there is still 10% left, which actually goes to unsanctioned cloud applications, or I would call them shadow services, because they are not procured or sanctioned by the organization, but they still are being used by the organization or by the employees or users. Now, for example, PDF converter, if they have to do some work and there's no conversion software available within the organization, users may straight away go to pdfconverter.com, upload the document there, get the document converted into a PDF, and get it done. Maybe that is being done for the business purpose, but the application which is being used, like pdfconverter.com, that's not sanctioned, and that is an application, because you have no control after the data which has been uploaded into pdfconverter.com, or other PDF converters or Word converters, or even SourceForge. There are a lot of tons and tons of cloud applications where the data can go. Yes, it is a smaller bucket because the priority is to address the larger chunk where corporate authorized data is residing in terms of OneDrive, SharePoint, G Drive, Box, so on and so forth. That needs to be addressed first. But shadow ITPs is also important, which needs to be addressed. So with that, I would actually give a brief on all of these different aspects. What are the different channels of filtration? But before I go there, okay, from statistics percent again, 25% of drop we have seen in enterprise network traffic, because same users are not now in office, but they are working from home. So the backhauling, if as an organization, if we are not backhauling the traffic within the organization, which means it is directly going from user to the cloud, right? So that's why the drop is there in the enterprise traffic, whereas the direct to access by the users, that has increased 50%. Personal device usage has increased. In fact, 100% increase in unused usage. In last year itself, as per our survey which we saw, in increased usage of collaboration app that we have seen, right? So if I take the threat vector now, not just the service usage or cloud service usage, the threat vector. So as per the MITRE attack cloud matrix, which is also one of the recent mapping which has been published. Okay, it's NIST 800/90, which is specifically designed for the cloud related threats. If we look at that, you see, discovery of network share discovery is one of the highest factors, because the first uh, place where the attack would start is start discovering. Right now, if the data is already there in the cloud, discovery becomes much more easier. They can, if they are able to do a phishing attack and get a account compromised, they can do all of those tasks. They can do a discovery, they can discover data, they can discover users, do privilege escalations within the cloud itself, or from an infrastructure as a service perspective, they can use misconfiguration or misconfigured S3 buckets or Azure blobs, for example, and start land and then start expanding within the infra and try exfiltration of data. Right. So with that, if uh, an organization can get a view of what's happening, okay, from a MITRE attack framework, that also becomes very, very helpful. And that kind of data is always, or majority of the time, used by the SOC teams to do proactive innovation and remediate any kind of threats. Right. So with that, if you look at all these different threat vectors, whether it is SaaS or IaaS, so what we have seen over the period of years, so we have these best of the breed solutions like McAfee Web Proxy or McAfee DLP, or as part of the CASB infrastructure as service, cloud security posture management, or workload protection, and then CASB. Right, there are a lot of interrelated use cases which fall from one place to other, or technology to the other. And hence, looking at that, what we have done is we have tried combining all these different use cases and come up with the solution bundle called Unified Cloud Edge, which is actually a combination of, or I would say a convergence of web proxy, data loss prevention solution for the cloud, on-prem, both, and workload protection in infrastructure service, cloud security posture management in the cloud, and then CASB to address all the SaaS security, and any kind of collaboration happening, internal or external, any kind of data download happening to unmanaged device, so on and so forth. So putting all of them together in a unified cloud edge. Right. So with that, let me introduce the platform, McAfee platform, MVISION Cloud platform, because we designed the platform such a way that all these different vectors can be addressed from a single pane of glass, which means MVISION Cloud would be one platform from where you would be able to configure and manage the web proxy. So any kind of web traffic going out, you will be able to control, whether it is category-based filtering or whether it is shadow app usage. You would be able to control all of that. Similarly, when we look at the unsanctioned app, okay, you would be able to prevent any kind of data going into those unsanctioned cloud applications, along with the web proxy. If we move towards the right, the sanctioned applications. When I say sanctioned applications, it means that the SaaS applications like Office 365 or Salesforce or G Drive, those are the well-known applications which generally customers adopt and buy or purchase licenses. And we can integrate those solutions via API or different deployment modes into the CASB platforms. That is what we call as sanctioned enterprise SaaS apps. So have security for those, which could be data protection related controls, threat protection related controls, or governance or compliance related controls. The same thing goes for the long tail SaaS application as well. When I say long tail SaaS application, what I'm referring to is smaller set of applications like Jira Software or Citrix ShareFile or Cisco Ignite, so on and so forth, which would not be widely used within the enterprise, maybe in a bucket, like maybe some one specific department, one specific project may be using that application. So those could fall into the long tail SaaS application. But the data protection, threat protection still needs to be covered for those kind of applications as well. So we covered that as well from the same single platform. Right. And then moving from SaaS to infrastructure as a service or PaaS, we cover AWS, Azure, GCP, again, with regards to CSPM, with regards to data protection, threat protection, all of that for these three platforms, right? Which also includes container and workloads. So whether they're workloads, VMs, which are running within the Azure or AWS or a GCP environment, having an anti-malware solution, application protection solution for those, or vulnerability assessment for those. Similarly, like workloads, we also cover the same for containers. If you're using a lot of containers to run certain applications, certain services, we can identify those, what are the different the containers that are running, what are the misconfigurations, what are the vulnerabilities associated with them, and have a remediation path for them. And from an automation perspective, we also support like AWS Lambda, for example, to create some remediation scripts for automation in terms of after identification, how do you remediate them, right? So all that is happening right from a single platform. So this was about the platform. Now moving specifically into the separate section. So what I would do is go from left to the right, wherein I would first try and cover give you an overview of shadow app usage. How do you what are the different scenarios which are applicable in shadow app usage, and what kind of data exfiltrations can happen, how do you cover them, followed by sanction app, followed by infrastructure as a service, right? So discover all cloud services in use. So this screenshot actually is taken from the MVISION Cloud dashboard itself. So what happens is whatever the users are accessing via the web channel, all of that gets fed into the solution in the backend, and a lot of analytics happen on top of it. And after the analytics, it will display that these are all the applications which are being used by the users within the organization, and what is the total volume of data that is getting uploaded there, what is the total volume of data that is getting downloaded there, what are the sites which are being allowed, and they are risky in nature. All of that information is available under the analytics section. Okay, so it helps you to achieve certain use cases like what is the risk level of different services which are being used, what are the top destinations where your data is going, what are the top destinations, or are there any applications which are being used. Let me give you an example. So for example, you have a provisioned Office 365 as one of your corporate application for collaboration and for cloud storage as well. But from a shadow IT log analytics, if it tells you that apart from Office 365, OneDrive, or SharePoint, there is Box, there is Dropbox usage as well. Okay, now those are not sanctioned for you because you have not procured those licenses for Box and Dropbox, right? If there is a high usage over there, you need to find out why people are using Box and Dropbox, because that would lead to data exfiltration, because you have no control over Box or Dropbox, right? So that identification itself is very, very important. So shadow IT helps you to identify those. Similarly, risky applications, say for example, SendSpace or Bidder Upload or SourceForge. These are applications where data can be uploaded by users, but they're risky. Because why they are risky? Because of their risk. So data related risk, data sharing, they do support data sharing. Whatever data gets uploaded into these kind of applications, it can be shared from SendSpace to outside. That means you have no control whatsoever on that. That's a risky proposition. The encryption at rest, they don't apply encryption at rest. That means whatever data the user is uploading there, and if it is sensitive, it is not encrypted. That means if by chance the SendSpace, for example, gets hacked tomorrow, your data is also at risk. So again, that's a risky proposition, right? So those are some of the risk attributes which we look at, which we analyze for each of those cloud application usage and put that into a perspective. So we have close to 55 different risk attributes, like the couple of examples which I gave, and we bucket them into different risk areas like data related risk, user or device related risk, service related risk. Service related risk could be something like does the SendSpace goes through a regular penetration testing? Does it go through regular vulnerability assessment tests? Does it comply to EU GDPR or ISO or PCI? Does it comply to that? If no, the risk score increases, right? So all these services are mapped against the risk attributes. So we have a registry of 30,000 plus of those cloud applications where we map all these 55 risk attributes and give you that visibility. These are the risky cloud applications which are being used. Why they are risky? Because of these attributes. And if there are any associated risk regarding the application itself, like Heartbleed or rat or those kind of cloud specific, web specific threats. So all those are also available as attribute for you to look at and for you to do the analytics, right? Now, after you have identified the risk, okay, you also need to control it. So from a control perspective, from the same single dashboard, you would be able to define the control policies as well. So for example, if a user is going to a risky application like SendSpace, and you do not want as part of your cloud governance policy that user should not be going there after the identification, okay, this is more from a data risk perspective. You can set a policy within the platform saying this is any site which is risky in nature with regards to data exfiltration, go ahead and block it. You can set that policy. Similarly, you can set another policy saying, okay, I want to allow only users to go to, say, Office 365 corporate tenant. Okay, but at the same time, if a user is going to a personal tenant of Office 365, that should not be allowed, because that could lead to data exfiltration from the endpoint, from user. Or if user is going to, say, Box or Dropbox, because it is not sanctioned for you, you would like to block them. So that kind of control, you can set it from the same dashboard, right? Another scenario could also be you want to block any kind of uploads that are happening to, or sensitive data upload, not just upload, sensitive data upload happening to, say, Box or Dropbox. There could be a scenario, in an environment, because I've seen those kind of scenarios a lot. But in an organization, as part of certain project, you may have to allow Box or Dropbox because one of your customers is using Box or Dropbox. So you are allowing them because they are collaborating on Box or Dropbox. But any kind of data upload from your organization or from your user, which is your organization sensitive data into Box, that should not be allowed, because that you don't own that. It's somebody else's, your customers, right? So in those scenarios, you can do a DLP scanning. So any kind of data which is going into Box, if it is sensitive information, prevent the data upload itself, right? So those kind of scenarios, those kind of controls you can put in using the same platform, which is the MVISION Cloud, or UCE, I would call it, right? Now, going from before I move into the second section, any questions on this section, which is around IT identification and control, advanced controls, like tenant restriction or activity control, or blocking certain risky applications, and so forth. Sure. In case if you come across any questions, you can put that into the chat window as well. Towards the end of the session, we will look at that and we'll try to answer those questions as well. Right. Now, coming to the SaaS-based applications, I would say a sanctioned SaaS applications. Okay. Now, one scenario which is very common is in the current work from home scenario is data getting downloaded to a personal device, because organization is allowing users to even work from their personal devices, because you can't ship probably the desktop to users home, or maybe it's not a corporate device you could have shipped to the user's home. So you are allowing users to work from their own personal devices, but access the corporate application, which is Office 365, say, for example, or G Suite, right? So user is logging in there, creating documents, working on the documents, downloading them, working, and then uploading it back, so on and so forth. So if user is doing all of that, what if he downloads a sensitive document to his personal device? Now, if that happens, it means that he has control over the document and organization doesn't have any control, because now he can take it out from there. So that is one scenario. Or he can download that and then forward it to somebody, via email or so on and so forth. Now, to address that, CASB can come in between, and which is we use a method called reverse proxy for this, which is agentless. There is no agent requirement on the endpoint. That's why it would work for managed, unmanaged, all of it. Okay, and if the user, because now via reverse proxy, the CASB is inline, McAfee MVISION Cloud is inline, any data download that is happening from the sanction app, which is Office 365 OneDrive or SharePoint or G Drive, to the personal device, it is going via the reverse proxy. And we have set a policy saying that if any sensitive data getting downloaded to a personal device, prevent that from happening. Okay, that's one scenario of data exfiltration which can be achieved. Or an extension to that could be, you want to allow users to work and allow them to work even on the sensitive document, because that's part of their role. What do? If you have data DRM kind of solutions, like Microsoft AIP or Seclor or Ionic, what we can also do is we can integrate with these DRM solutions, and when the user is downloading the sensitive document to his personal device, on the fly, this document will get encrypted by the AIP. We can apply that encryption, the AIP or Seclor encryption on the document, so that even if it gets downloaded, you still have the control, because you authorize in the DRM who's supposed to be able to access the document. And even if you forward it to somebody else who's not authorized, not be able to open the document. So that way, you allow user to work even on a sensitive document, but you are keeping the control with you. Who can access, who cannot access, what they do with the document. So that can also be achieved via the CASB or via integration. So another scenario is sensitive data upload to unsanctioned cloud app, which I also discussed a couple of slides back. But again, to retreat, if you are using a managed device, a company provided laptop, and you are accessing web, if you're trying to upload certain sensitive content to unsanctioned cloud app, like the example which I gave, SendSpace or PDF Converter or SourceForge, which are risky, you don't want that to happen. Or even, if they're not risky, but they're not sanctioned, like Box or Dropbox, which your customers are using, you're uploading any sensitive document there, prevent that upload from happening, because that you're preventing the data exfiltration to the allowed cloud application also. Similarly, if there is any malware getting downloaded to the managed device, okay, now how that can happen, there are a lot of sites which attackers can compromise, and plant malwares there. So anyone who's going and accessing those applications and clicking on certain links or downloading something from there, the malware can also get downloaded along with that. So the web proxy module within the platform can detect that in real time, that whether this is a malware or not, whether it's a 0-day or not, and take the preventive action. If it is 0-day or a malware, it will take that preventive action, or from get that malware getting downloaded in the managed device, right? So that is the scenario, where when it comes to the managed device accessing the unknown or sanctioned cloud applications. Another scenario, of data exfiltration from a cloud specific perspective is, data collaboration. Like, for example, I am a user and I have logged into Office 365. Now I have multiple ways of collaborating from there. Either I can send it via email, a document. I can attach that document either from my system or a document that is already stored in OneDrive. Attach that to the email and send it out. So that could lead to data exfiltration. So email DLP solution should kick in that scenario. So McAfee MVISION Cloud can integrate with the email security solution, which is Office 365 or Gmail, and prevent those kind of data exfiltration going via the email channel. It addresses that. And again, that is agentless. There's no agent required. It's cloud to cloud integration. Okay, we call it SMTP proxy, basically, right? Now, another channel could be, creating a link of documents. So you, for example, you already have a document in OneDrive or G Drive, for example. You create a shareable link of that document, okay, and you can send it to a specific set of people. You can specify, okay, user 1, 2, 3, 4, and send it to them. Now, if it is a sensitive document, you don't want to collaborate that, because that could lead to data exfiltration. You can prevent that kind of data collaboration immediately via API integration. We can identify that this particular user is collaborating a sensitive document with a personal email address, or personal domain, or non-corporate domain, or non-project related domain. Identify that. If it is happening, remove the sharing link itself via the API. So that prevents the user or third-party user to whom it is being sent from accessing the shared link, because the link does not exist. Via API, MVISION Cloud would have removed that, right? So that's another way of data exfiltration, which we address. Again, via API, that is agentless, no agent required, right? Another scenario, again, cloud specific, is third-party connected apps. Now, within Office 365, like OneDrive or email, Exchange Online, or Teams, you can actually go to a Microsoft marketplace and use certain applications to open, a specific file, or a specific file. Okay, by doing that, what you're doing essentially as a user is you're allowing a third-party application. You do not know whether it is risky or not risky, because as a user, I don't know. I need to get my job done, so I just go to marketplace, get that application, and give it authorization to access my Office 365 OneDrive tenant, or Teams tenant, or Exchange Online. And after I have allowed it, it will start working, which means that, one, I am allowing maybe a risky application to connect to my Office 365 corporate tenant. That is one. Second, what if this is a risky application and the data is going from your OneDrive to, or you're sharing, or it is syncing some data from your OneDrive tenant into that particular application to do certain job, but end of the day, the data is going from cloud to cloud, right? That's again a channel which needs to be addressed, right? So we address that as well. So as part of the overall solution, we also have something called as third-party connected app visibility and control. So we can identify what are all the third-party applications that are connecting to your G Drive, or your OneDrive, or SharePoint. What are those applications that are connecting? What kind of permissions they are requesting for? What is the risk of those applications? Once you have that visibility, you can also set a policy saying, if these are risky, they're asking for too much of permission, like write permission, do not allow them, block them. Or if somebody has allowed, you can do a check and say, okay, I don't want this to be there. You go ahead and create a policy and saying, anyone who has allowed any applications which has requested for write permission, remove that. So from the user's permission, that application will be removed. He will not be able to see that application the next time after it is removed, right? All that control is done via API. Again, that is agentless, no agents required whatsoever, right? Again, from an API perspective, it's because I have touched upon the API. Now, APIs are always near real time, okay, because they are working after the fact, after the data is there in the cloud, right? So this response, or the speed at which the detection and prevention should happen, is very, very important, right? With McAfee, if you see with other CASB solutions, with the API, the minimum duration is generally 5 minutes or more to identify and take a preventive action of any kind of data exfiltration, whether it is data upload, or whether it is collaboration via email, or collaboration via link, all of that. Whereas with McAfee, Skylink, it's a terminology which we use, but essentially it is API. With that, we are able to detect and prevent within first 30 seconds of the activity, okay, which is the shortest in the industry. And this is one of the main reasons majority of the Fortune 100 companies use McAfee MVISION Cloud because of the response time. Because the shorter the duration of detection and remediation, the better. Okay, and why is important? Because a lot of use cases cannot be achieved, which are cloud to cloud, cannot be achieved via any inline solution, any proxy solution. It cannot be addressed, and hence the multi-mode deployment method is very, very important. Like to cover the email channel, we can be inline SMTP proxy, agentless. To cover a scenario like a data download to unmanaged device, we use reverse proxy deployment mode, which is again agentless, no agents on the endpoint. Similarly, to cover to cloud movement of data, like collaboration via link or collaboration via connected app, that is addressed purely via the API, right? And for Office 365 specifically, we also have a specific, like a patented technology, which we call Lightning Link, which works in real time. Even though it is API, but it works real time, which means if you are trying and creating a link, okay, which is very generic in nature, you're not creating a link for a specific user, but it's a general link which you're creating. That means any user who gets a link can access the document. That behavior can be detected in real time and prevented in real time for Office 365. So that is also one of the differentiators or unique capabilities of the McAfee MVISION Cloud. Right. Similarly, a couple of more which we have added as part of the platform, which makes the usability or operationally the solution more efficient, is self-user remediation. So if you use DLP kind of solutions, you would see that the number of DLP incidents are pretty high, and majority of them would be noise, because data policy, users may not be aware. They go ahead, try sharing the document or uploading the document, it violates the DLP policy. So if that noise you can reduce, that helps the analyst team to reduce their effort in investigating those incidents. So what we have done of the solution is we have added a capability using which, as soon as the user violates a DLP policy, he gets an email automatically saying that we have violated a DLP policy. This is the file, or this is the folder which has been, which is violating the policy. These are, the extracts of the content. What do you want to do? Do you want to delete the file, or provide a business justification, or report it as a non-violation? So now user is part of the remediation process. User, if it is unintentional, user will straight away go ahead and delete the file because it was unintentional. He's self-remediating the DLP incident. Or if it is genuine fired, he would provide a business justification, and it would, the issue or the incident will get auto-resolved, right? So by this, a couple of customers where we have implemented this when we first launched it, a year back, they were able to achieve, or reduce the incident load on the analyst team by 90%. Right? That's a big operational benefit for the organization. Right? Similarly, there are other benefits which I can talk about, maybe in further or other sessions. But let's take an example, okay, of this unified data across different channels. So let's say I'm the user. Okay, now I am going ahead and trying to access a cloud application which has a poor reputation. Okay, a bad reputation. Maybe it has been involved in some kind of attack somewhere across the globe, but it has a poor reputation because of that. As soon as I try to access that, the access would get blocked because by the platform, because it's that reputation is that particular application. Now, if I go and try to upload some sensitive document into applications which are risky in nature, like PDF sites, or sites like SourceForge, which in itself is not a bad category, but if you upload a sensitive document there, it becomes risk. It's from a data perspective, it's a risk, right? Or compliance perspective, it's a risk. Those kind of applications, if the sensitive data is getting uploaded there, that will get blocked by the solution. Now, if I am going and uploading sensitive data to my sanction app like Office 365, OneDrive, or SharePoint. That's normal. That's the purchased solution by organization, and organization controls it. So that's fine. But if from that I am trying to share that link with unauthorized party or blacklisted domains or personal domains, that should not be allowed because that could lead to exfiltration. So the solution blocks it. Similarly, if I am trying to user tries to access service from an unmanaged device, okay, and then tries to upload or download certain sensitive document from there, again the solution can detect that and either prevent access or prevent download from happening, which is violating the policy, or prevent the download from happening if it is a sensitive document. So solution does that. On the endpoint, if managed device from where I'm doing this job, and if there's a sensitive document, if I try to take it via the local means within the laptop, like a USB or a print screen or a screen capture, the host DLP module is going to take care of that. It will prevent that those scenarios. And the scenario is sending sensitive data via email. So if it is going to internal recipient, fine, that's okay, because this is within the organization internal recipient. But if that user shares it outside to a blacklisted domain or external domains which are not supposed to be sent via email DLP, the solution is going to take preventive action. So if I put all the different technologies here now, if I map them, if you see, the SaaS is working for web related access control and everything. CASB is working for anything which is happening from sanctioned cloud application, whether it is collaboration or download to unmanaged device. Endpoint DLP is working for the endpoint. Any data exfiltration happening via the endpoint is taking care of. Again, CASB is taking care of the email related threats or channel data exfiltration happening via the email channel. It's covering all of that. That is why I was mentioning in the beginning that these are all converged use cases, and that's why we have this unified cloud edge, so that all of these different incidents or different policies can be controlled from one single place. All of these different incidents which are happening for web or endpoint DLP or CASB are centrally managed. That means you, at a central console, you have the visibility of all of these DLP incidents, irrespective of where they're happening, whether they're happening on web, whether they're happening on endpoint, or whether they're happening in the cloud. You get a central view of all the DLP incidents and able to manage the DLP incidents centrally. Right now, moving on from SaaS to the infrastructure service. Now, in infrastructure as a service, again, we integrate via API with Azure, AWS or GCP, and do multiple things. The misconfiguration, which is one of the major areas, okay, we address that. So we do a scan initial discovery first to identify all the resources that are part of AWS or Azure, and give you also the risk score of those. What is the overall risk score of these resources because of the associated misconfigurations on them, right? So that you get, and when you click on any one of those resources, you would also get why they are risky. It's not just about misconfiguration alone. It could be also that in this particular resource is misconfigured. At the same time, there are DLP related incidents like S3 bucket or Azure blob. There are DLP related incidents happening for that particular Azure blob or bucket. So that also adds to the risk of that particular resource. So using the platform, we would do misconfiguration audit, or resource discovery or asset discovery, basically. Data loss prevention. So the same DLP policies which we use for SaaS or web SaaS will be extended to infrastructure as a service as well. The storage is like Azure blob or S3 bucket. We can on demand scan them or scan them in near real time as and when data is into those buckets, scan them for violation. If it is violating the DLP policy, take the corrective action of deleting or quarantining the file from blob, or S3 bucket, right? Now, the same thing, we extend that, the CSPM functionality, we have extended that to the container security as well. So we can identify all the containers, and if there are any misconfigurations associated with containers, like we can identify that and say these are the misconfigurations and these are the steps which you need to take to remediate this particular misconfiguration. All that is part of the platform itself. Similarly, for containers, because they are static images, we can do a scanning of the static images for vulnerabilities. That what are the associated vulnerabilities with these container images? So you get to see vulnerabilities as well, so that you can, and the recommendations to patch them, so you can patch them as well, right? So similarly, apart from container, the workloads. So if the workloads, we can do the vulnerability assessment for workloads via the API. And if it is within the operating system, that is within the workload, the operating system, anti-malware solution over there, or application control, so that only the authorized applications should run on that particular workload and nothing else. So those kind of controls can also be implemented, right? So we have a separate name which we have come up with for infrastructure as a service security, which is CNAPP, Cloud Native Application Protection Platform. So which includes CASB, which includes CSPM, and CWPP, which is Cloud Workload Protection Platform. So all of that put together is the infrastructure as a service security. Right now, from a dashboard perspective, okay, so these were some of the exfiltration vectors which I was talking about. How do we detect that? How do we protect right from the single platform? Now, from all a compliance governance perspective, or SOC perspective, we also have a map all the threats that are coming up in the MVISION Cloud dashboard, whether it is coming from infrastructure as a service, whether it is coming from SaaS. We map all of that against the cloud specific MITRE ATT&CK framework, okay, and map them into the techniques and the tactics, so that you get to know what's happening, if that's happening, at what stage it is in, or if there is already something happening, what is it, who's the user, who's the application, what is the permission. All of that information comes right from a single dashboard within the MVISION Cloud, so which is mapped to cloud specific threats, right? So this is very, very unique, which we have added into our platform. Nobody else does this for cloud specific threats as of today. Yes, others are also working on it, and they would also release, but we were the initiators to do this from a cloud security platform standpoint. Similarly, we have also added another I would say a dashboard, which helps you to mature the solution yourself. So instead of somebody else coming and auditing your environment has been implemented, how do you mature it, how do you improve it, we have built that all in, automated that into a dashboard, wherein you get to see where do you stand from a visibility and control standpoint across SaaS, IaaS, Shadow IT, all of that put together. What is your visibility and what is your control against your peers? It also rates you against your peers. Obviously, it doesn't show you the names of your peers, but it tells you that these are some of the peers as per your industry vertical. Where do you stand? It's like a quadrant of magic quadrant, in a visibility and control score. Where do you stand? If your score is less, what are the steps which you can take to improve your score? What are the recommendations which you can adopt to do this? So if you click on those recommendations, it takes you to the specific recommendations. And if it is associated with the policy, for example, you can click on it. It will take you to the policy page where you can configure it, right? So this way, it continuously tells you that where you are, what are the next steps you can do to improve the maturity, whether it is SaaS, whether it is IaaS, whether it is Shadow IT. You have somebody within the tool, or someone within the tool, to guide you automatically that what needs to be done and improve the score. This is again very, very unique, which we have in our platform. Nobody else has this kind of maturity guidance right built within the tool. right? So that was, more about the solution from a McAfee perspective. Why a McAfee? Obviously, we have the biggest database of security, or threat database across the world. Uh, Uptime is one of the strong points for McAfee, which is 5.9 availability for web and cloud access, right? 60 points of presence across the globe for web. That is also one of our strong points, right? Similarly, from the three technologies which we sell individually as well as a combined solution, which is UCE, they have been rated as customers Peers Insight Award has been given to each of them individually. What we have done is take all the best of the breed solutions and combine them, converge them so that you get the best of all the three, right? Uh, from a and third party analyst perspective, uh, McAfee MVISION Cloud has been from a CASB space. We have been the clear leaders in the latest Gartner report of 2020. If you see, it's the top right hand corner where we are in terms of execution, in terms of vision. We are at the top rightmost corner. Similarly, from Forrester IDC, we are again in the leaders quadrant. So, which basically, the only point which I want to make is all the third party analysts have rated us higher consistently, and not just 1 year or 2 years, consistently for 3-4 years, because we are innovating. We are always trying to create the market, create something new, which is very, very cloud specific, and that's the reason we are always there in the leaders, right? If you look at the last year's CASB solution comparison report, you would also see that out of those 25 categories which was released, where all the different vendors were assessed, McAfee got the highest number of highs. High means the best. So 19 out of 25 we got high. And if you see some of the areas like data loss prevention, cloud application in the API mode support, the strength, the access control, user behavior analytics within the solution, in the forward proxy mode, all of that, we have got the high compared to anybody else in the industry, right? Again, so that's just a point saying that in industry fields, the analysts feel that McAfee has an upper edge, has a strong innovation, strong execution. Because of that, we get these highs. Some of the customers across the globe, it's not all, but some of them within India itself, we have some of the bigger customers which we have acquired in the last 1.5 years or 2 years, like Tata Consultancy Services, HCL, Wipro. These are like massive, big customers. So with that, I will say, that is all I wanted to cover. And I know we are short on time, but any kind of questions we have, let's open for that.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you so much, Mahendra. That was an extremely insightful session. I think all of our attendees gained quite a lot. So I hope I didn't take much time in the beginning, but we have time for a few questions. So our first question is, are some methods used by policies to stop users from being able to visit certain sites?
Right. So that would be addressed by the web proxy module within the platform. So for example, if users are going to say bad categories, or categories which you don't want to allow, you can have a policy saying these are the categories that are allowed, these are categories that are not allowed. Another example could be, apart from categories, you also set a policy on top of it saying that, okay, even if it is allowed category, but if the reputation of the site is bad, do not allow them to go there, because it to drive-by malware download from those sites. So you can have a second set of policy. Then you can have a third set of policy, which could be like data upload policy. So if somebody is uploading data to unsanctioned cloud application, and if it is sensitive data, prevent the data upload from happening. So all these policies will work together. You can have one policy, second policy, third policy. It can go in that hierarchy as well. And you also have your own user based or user group based policy. like, this policy should only apply to user group A, user group B, user group C. That comes from the Active Directory.
Okay, brilliant. So I think this next question, Mahindra, only a gentleman of your stature would be able to actually respond to. So most cloud platform providers offer DLP on the cloud at an extra charge. Question is, why go for McAfee when the platform providers also offer it?
Yeah, so it's a good question. So if you see, Microsoft also has DLP within their solution, or the DLP is also as part of the GCP. You have this DLP module, but the question is, they are limited to their own platform. Okay, so for example, I take example of native control, native DLP coming from Microsoft, or native DLP control coming from AWS or GCP. It is there. Okay, in AWS, you have MVISION, which has the DLP function. Similarly, in Azure and the granularity is not there. Okay, so it is not so granular, as a dedicated DLP solution would give you. That is one, the granularity. Second, they would work only, for example, if I take AWS MVISION, that will work only for AWS environment. It will not work for a SaaS application. It will not work for an application you have hosted on GCP. So it is not multi-cloud platform. Okay, it is specific to one cloud. So that disadvantage you get. Plus, you can't extend that DLP engine, which is not so granular, to SaaS applications. You can't extend that to a web DLP, because it is only for the workloads, right? So those are the downsides or disadvantages you will have if you start adopting a native DLP control. Because in that case, if you have a multi-cloud platform, you'll have to have 3 separate consoles managing DLP incidents separately for all 3 platforms, and then probably another solution to manage the SaaS security or SaaS based DLP controls. So it becomes the operationally headache kind of scenario. When I say granularity, I'll take an example of, for example, in Microsoft. Now, there is a DLP, but and you're applying DRM policies, okay, using the AIP, for example. Can you extend or can you take the same AIP controls and apply that AIP tagging to data that is in G Drive or Dropbox? Probably no, you can't. Can you apply the same to data which is going and residing in AWS S3 bucket? No, you can't, right? So that's why you would need to have a platform which is outside of this cloud service provider itself, which will be neutral and can extend the same DLP controls, same incident management dashboard, compliance and governance across your platforms, across your SaaS, across your web. That's why it becomes important to have a platform to do DLP rather than going with the native control.
Okay, thank you so much, Mahindra. And with that, unfortunately, ladies and gents, we are at an end of our time. So I would once again like to thank Mr. Mahindra Kumar for joining our session today. Thank you, sir. That was an extremely insightful session. And also, once again, thank you to each and every of you who logged in today, our valued partners, our customers, and each of